So,
All right. Hey everyone, good evening. I hope you're all able to hear us and see us. Awesome. Hi Neeraj, good evening. How are you?
hi, Ketki. I'm doing good. How about you?
I've been good too. And again, I love your background. So it seems like a sunny day, right? Outside.
Yeah, yeah. With Bombay, you'll have that.
I can imagine. Yeah, very
True.
nice. We'll, I think, wait for a few more people to join for another 2 minutes.
Right. Yep. Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Awesome. How have you been doing? Is it a summer vacation time? What's up with you?
Yeah. Actually, a good break for me. Uh, just like when you're working, you don't have that break. But yeah, just trying to get no vacation this year's. But yeah, let's see how the remaining part of the year goes. How about you?
Yeah, my parents did visit me, so yeah, I had a quick break. So
Oh, that's
sort
good.
of like a vacation.
Yeah, good
Is it a
vacation.
summer vacation time? What's up with you? Awesome.
Yep. One. Mm,
Okay, I see a few people have already joined us. Folks, if you can just say a quick hi on the chat. Very good evening to everyone. I hope everyone is doing good. It's almost the end of weekend. Monday is really close, but if you could all just say a quick hi and show us that you've joined.
yeah, it would be great to know. Hello, Rajiv ji.
All right, then. Today we are all here for another interesting session from Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation. We are a community of people with all kinds of diabetes, and we run different kind of activities. It's a community where we all help each other. We've been doing these sessions every Sunday for I think more than 2.5 years. We've done over 150 sessions so far, workshops so far. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a few. Today we
Yes.
are going to discuss something called summer and diabetes. Neeraj, before that, why don't you introduce yourself and then maybe I'll go next.
Hi, guys. It's good to see all of you again, and good to host this with Ketki. I've been like in the past workshop I've mentioned, I've been a type 1 diabetic for the last 8 years now, and yeah, and I'm currently working in financial research. Yeah, so that's about my job. Yep, and yeah, that's it. How about you, Ketki?
Very nice. Yeah, I work in with Amazon in Bangalore. I have been a type one diabetic for more than 18 years now. So yeah, I've seen quite a bit of a transition from glucometer to CGMs and everything. Yeah, been a ride. But yeah, that's about it. I specifically want to discuss summer because I've grown up in Nagpur, which is supposed to be one of the hottest cities in like 48 degrees, and you can't really go out almost 12 hours of the day. So yeah, it seemed
Right.
like a very interesting topic. um, have you experienced this whole summer and sugar things around you? How has it
Yeah,
been?
definitely. Yeah, so with humidity, you know how things get difficult, and Bombay being, you know, and this year was terrible. Like the summer started quite early than normally, so it was tough. Uh, so we'll talk about the things that helped me. Uh, Doing testing a lot did help, uh, you know and I had one two pump failures at that time, but luckily I'm someone who, till I have not tested at least 3 to 4 times a day, I'm not happy. I don't know, it's just become a part of it. So yeah, that helped, getting to know actually, okay, so your pump is not working because it did not throw a no delivery thing. So yeah, there were challenges, but yeah, you learn with it. Like I think KT has more experience in has handled more weather changes than I have in my 8 years versus her 18 years. So yeah, how about you?
So I think of these 18 years to almost close to 15, I never knew that weather is something that is impacting my sugars. It would just go high
Right,
sometimes, or I would sweat too much and it'll go low, and I just wouldn't know why this would happen. What is the
right,
different thing?
right.
ऐसा क्या हो रहा है जिसकी वजह से this is happening? But now that I have the CGM, अब मैं check कर पाती हूँ कि ओ अच्छा, this is dehydration, this is a weather change. सो इन्फॉर्मेशन ही इतना लेट मिला है मुझे इसके बारे में, विच सरप्राइजेस मी कि ओ ओके,
Yeah,
इतनी सारी चीजें दैट इम्पैक्ट्स ब्लड शुगर, तो काइंड ऑफ डिफरेंट फॉर मी. बट नाउ दैट आई नो, मैंने बहुत सारे लाइफस्टाइल चेंजेस किए, एंड आई थिंक एज वी गो इनटू द सेशन वी कुड डिस्कस अबाउट इट
yeah,
एज टू हाउ आर summers going to be a little different than probably a normal day. So yeah.
right. So how does summer affect you, and how is it different for you from other weathers? Like every weather comes with its
um,
own challenges, but how have you seen summer being different?
just physically I can say two things. One is I am not a person जिसे बहुत प्यास लगती है. Like by default, I don't have the urge to drink a lot of water. So
Right.
maybe summer में I get more dehydrated. Like मेरे साथ dehydration का problem थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, because naturally मेरी tendency of drinking water बहुत कम है. There was a time 2-3 years ago when I actually monitored and I saw कि कभी-कभी मैं दिन में 1.5-2 liters पानी भी नहीं पी रही थी, and it was a
Okay.
really bad lifestyle to have. That is one
Right.
thing. And the other thing is my ability to exercise. Because of
Yeah.
a lesser water intake, I couldn't really, I used to perspire, and I has be done. Winters में I could exercise better, मेरा stamina better रहता था. But summer में मैं समझ ही नहीं पाती थी. I used to get like very easily exhausted. So
Right.
naturally all of this used to have an impact on my blood sugar. But like I said, मेरे पास information ही नहीं था कि this is one
Right.
of the reasons which is impacting my blood sugar. So these are the two major things which I have seen, and of course a lack of hydrating liquids and everything, because
Yeah.
you cannot have rasna, you cannot have sharbats, and you cannot have ampana. वो तो issues थे ही हमेशा से. That's I think another thing. What about you, Neeraj?
I've seen my when you're traveling and when you're going out. So May, April, May are the months when you normally go out for vacations and other things, summer holiday. So you tend to lose out on a lot of you take more carbohydrates. This year, even though I just went out for some days, I tried testing more and tried to make some smart choices with food, because one thing was I was not storing insulin properly, but this year is the first summer that I'm on the insulin pump, so that didn't matter because that takes care of it on its own. Other years, storing of insulin and insulin going bad has been a issue that I have seen. So yeah, storage of insulin is a challenge in the months of summer, and also you don't tend to think on your diet. And dehydration is very easy, as you rightly said. If you're not drinking enough water, not and if you're going out if specifically if you're going in Maharashtra, places in Maharashtra, you'll find a lot of humidity, and with humidity, it can be a challenge to maintain your sugars. So yeah, those
Interesting.
are
Yeah.
challenges that you see. Yeah,
You mentioned about storing insulin. I think most people हमारे group के कुछ लोग pump use करते हैं, बाकी everybody is on bottles and syringes or
everybody. Yeah,
pens
yeah.
which need a store. Everything, I think all kinds of insulin need a storage in refrigerator.
Right.
Have you ever, मतलब आप traveling में फिर क्या करते हो? How do you manage the storage of this storage
Uh,
and maintenance? कभी insulin खराब होता
uh,
है क्या? What should we do? What are the best
yes.
practices?
So whenever you're going out, and if because so one thing is, if whenever you're going out, so ensure that wherever you're going out, there is an option for a refrigerator, or if you're going to a hotel, request the hotel staff to allow you to store your insulin. And from one place to the other, when you're traveling and it's very hot outside, even room temperature would still be high, and it's not ideal to store insulin at that level. So always carry a Frio pouch. If you don't have one, buy it one. It's I think one of the most underrated things to have, and one of the basic things to have. So always store your insulin in a freer pouch. Carry extra. So if you're planning, once you've calculated your insulin dosages, and if say you require one or two cartridges, carry another 50% extra. Because if that one cartridge goes wrong, and if there is no insulin available where you're traveling, challenge हो जाएगा आपको diabetes मतलब then your whole vacation is more of a stress trip. So carry extra insulin, let it go back, let it come back. You can return it still, you can still keep it in back in the refrigerator for next use. So carry extra. If you're on CGMs, if you're on pumps, patches, everything, carry extra, maybe 30, 40, 50% extra than what you would normally require. uh, so yeah, because CGMs, because of the heat and the humidity, they come out more often than you would think. Uh, Carry strips, because if your CGM has come out, and if you're not testing, you should have strips with you handy. At least an extra 50 to 100 strips would be my suggestion.
Very very nice a thought. Actually ये हुआ है मेरे साथ. I've
हाँ,
done one of both of my degrees in the hostel, and during my graduation I did not have a portable refrigerator or anything. तो
right.
इंसुलिन जनरली मैं मेस के फ्रिज में रखती थी एंड यूज वाला बाहर रखती थी. बट वेर आई स्टडीड वहाँ 42 to 43 डिग्रीज टेम्परेचर जाता था, एंड माई इंसुलिन एक्चुअली स्पॉइल्ड गॉट स्पॉइल्ड वन डे. मुझे
Yeah,
पता ही नहीं चला. लाइक दिखने
right.
में एक्चुअली वो स्टिल ट्रांसपेरेंट, and my
Yeah,
sugars were constantly high, 300, 350. I got very scared as to what happened. And
yeah,
then one
yeah.
day the insulin became milky. Then I understood
Huh,
कि ये insulin बिगड़ चुका है. And that was
right,
an alarming thing because it was my last vial. मेरे पास और insulin नहीं था. 5-6 दिन में मुझे घर जाना था, तो I never bothered कि और लेना चाहिए. And it was
right.
all a mess. फिर luckily I
Yeah,
had a pharmacy जो देती थी insulin. But folks, हमारे लिए this is a very very important information that we have to store our insulin maximum 25 degrees room temperature, what we call, without any
yeah.
exposure to direct sunlight, direct heat. Let us all
Hmm.
make sure कि all of our टू बी यूज्ड इंसुलिन इज इन द रेफ्रिजरेटर, एंड जो हम यूज करते हैं उसे हम रूम टेम्परेचर पे रखते हैं. ध्रुमिल हैज आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन ऑन द चैट कि
Yeah,
बाहर नॉर्मल हीट में इंसुलिन कब तक रह सकता है. आई थिंक ध्रुमिल दिस आंसर्स योर क्वेश्चन दैट द वायल दैट वी आर यूजिंग वो हम बाहर रख सकते हैं एट रूम टेम्परेचर अप टू
yeah,
25-26 डिग्रीज, एंड बाकी पूरा इंसुलिन हैज टू बी स्टोर्ड इन अ रेफ्रिजरेटर or a similar
yeah,
arrangement. People do a lot of hacks and jugaad for it when they are
yeah,
traveling, or say if there's no electricity sometimes. But typically that is the ideal setup.
yeah. So Frio pouch is one thing. Like if you don't have the option for a refrigerator, because that works for 24 to 36 hours, if I'm not wrong. The So you can always just need to put it in cold water, and then your insulin is safe. So you can always carry the Frio pouch, because if you're not sure uh, that insulin is safe, or it's always safer to carry a Frio pouch with you, and it's easily available on Amazon. You can always keep one at home.
Very interesting. You also spoke about hydration, Neeraj. I really want to hear this because I said mera water intake has always been a challenge. What do you recommend? Like कितना पानी ideally
Even
एक इंसान ने
even I
summers में
am
पीना
not,
चाहिए?
yeah, even I am not a great water drinker. So but yeah, I make it a point. So you can use, if you're not a great water drinker, you can make use of, say, uh, have a competition with a friend, with a buddy, or just there are these apps which give you alarms to drink water, because when you're busy, you're working, water is the first thing that will get affected. So when you have an alarm, or there are these competitive bottles that this much you should finish by 12 p.m., this much you should finish by 4 p.m. So that's a good challenge within itself. So you can make use of those things, and I think a good water intake should be somewhere around 3 to 4 liters. But yeah, I never reached that level. 2 to 2.5 is my upper limit, is what I can reach.
My number is exactly the
What
same,
about
2
you,
to
Kit? How
2.5.
how much?
I'm trying to reach 3. I hear that is the ideal, ki 3 liters of water a day. I have one of
Yeah,
my friends has helped me
at
really well
least
in
three.
this
Yeah,
this
yeah.
book called Atomic Habits. I don't know किसी ने पढ़ा होगा तो it says कि अपनी आदतों के
Yeah,
ऊपर
yeah.
आदतें build करो.
Uh-huh.
So then in office, I have this habit that whenever I use the loo, I never come back to my desk. I walk around to the water cooler, I drink 2 glasses of water, and then I come back and sit. Then the cycle repeats. Again in 1 hour, I have to go. So yeah, I think one good way to, even I think these competitions and bottles and really important things, but all of it brings us to that one
Yeah.
important factor कि क्यों बिना पानी पिए लोगों का शुगर बढ़ रहा है. But for all the audience, I would really like to mention there are multiple articles that mention कि जब पानी कम है body में, the concentration of sugar is higher in the blood because of less water. And that is why everybody will it is a proven tested method. I think you can all also test the day that you drink lesser water, that the days you are dehydrated, आपका sugar higher रहेगा as compared to the days where you are well hydrated and you drink lots of water in intervals, etc. And आप लोग भी हमें बता सकते हो from the audience, has
Right.
anyone ever adopted a good habit to drink more water? Is there anything you have done which has helped you consume 2 to 3 liters of water every day, a sustainable method? If you have something like that, please tell us so we can all also learn from it. Kirat is telling
Yeah.
us about how she's been using Decathlon cooling bag. Okay, that sounds interesting. I have not used it yet,
Yeah.
but sure, I think Decathlon
Yes,
है
I've
तो
not
most
heard
people
about
will have access to it. जहाँ जहाँ Decathlon available है.
it. Right. That's
Kirat,
a
could you
good
also tell us
alternative to.
कितने दिन के लिए आप इसको maximum use कर पाए हो? 1 day, 2 day, 3 days? All right. While Kirat answers that, Neeraj, why don't
Yeah.
we speak a little bit about exercising, any other lifestyle habit that gets affected with summers?
Yeah, exercises again. One thing I think, if you're going to the gym, you're not hitting the gym because it's too hot outside and you don't want to step out. So, I think to keep that physical activity up, because I think COVID was one good example where we didn't have any access, but still we somehow managed to do. Maybe you can just walk in the house for count your steps, ensure that you reach 10,000 steps minimum. Just walk in the house, walk in your passage, just climb. If you're using the lift, take the stairs, climb up and down. So yeah, just maintain that physical activity. If it's difficult, there's always an option of a home workout. You can do that as well, because summers are as difficult as it gets to keep your exercising there. So maybe even if it goes down, it's okay. But just keep that habit up. If you've not developed it, it's always a good time to start.
Interesting. I still remember मेरे बचपन में there were no AC and everything. We had these coolers जिसमें पानी भरना पड़ता था and then the cooler would run for like 3-4 hours of sorts. तो my parents had made it a rule कि cooler पाइप से कभी नहीं भरा जाएगा. केतकी एंड माय
Okay.
ब्रदर बोथ ऑफ अस हम लोग बकेट भर भर के ले जाते थे एंड कूलर भरते थे बिकॉज वी वुडंट गो एंड प्ले लाइक दैट वाज अ रूल. सो आई थिंक हम लोग भी घर पे ऐसे वी कैन
Right.
आइडेंटिफाई सम एक्टिविटीज जो फिजिकली की जा सकती है ड्यूरिंग समर्स इन इनसाइड आवर होम्स, थोड़ा इंडोर, instead of having to go out. We are
Right.
not able to trek a lot in summers. People who like trekking, people who like maybe running also, sometimes you're not able to go out because of the weather, etc. तो छोटी छोटी चीजें we can still
Hmm.
identify and do. Sounds kind of nice. I think we also spoke about dehydration. Neeraj, if in case God forbid some of
Yeah.
us get a heat stroke or dehydration, is electrolyte a
Yeah.
safe
Yeah.
option? Have you tried electrolytes? If not,
Yes.
what's
I
better?
think Rohan has also suggested a lot of times I've seen Enerzal Zero. So it's a safe option for diabetics. You don't need to worry about your sugar levels there. So that's a good option. You can always have home-based options. Like if you're not a great water drinker, there are good alternatives. You can have buttermilk, but again, see to it. Uh, it has curd in it, right? So you need to give approximate dosage for it, for that. So yeah, you can have nimbu pani without any salt or sugar is a good those are good. And you can always use, if you need sweeteners, you can always use stevia. It's a safer option rather than going for packaged items like rasna and all of this. How about you? Like, what do you prefer uh,
Um,
for such things?
I think the only thing I can think of is nimbu pani without sugar. I've not had it without salt, but without sugar,
Yeah,
yes. There is this
yeah,
Maharashtrian drink called Sol Kadhi. I am a fan, but
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
Sol
yeah.
Kadhi
Oh,
gives
that's
me
one
a
of my favorite.
spike
Yeah, yeah.
because it
Same.
has coconut milk in it. So kokum doesn't give as much a
Okay.
spike,
Right,
but
right,
coconut does give some bit of spike. I think it is an equivalent of buttermilk. It gives a similar spike. So, but yes,
right.
some Sol
Yeah,
Kadhi
yeah,
sometimes I have had. I see a very interesting
yeah, yeah.
drink in the chat also, lemon water with chia seeds, because
Oh,
I also see a lot of benefits coming from chia seeds. So thank you, Kirat, for that.
yeah.
I have seen even
Yes.
non-diabetic people in my office doing it as a healthier lifestyle option. They'll bring it in office, they'll
Hmm.
have this shaker, and they'll have it all day. So yeah, I think
Right.
interesting drink. Anything else, people on the call, that you have a substitute for aam panna? I am a fan of aam panna. Generally, mango in general, I am a fan. So,
Mango. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if anybody has a substitute to that, वो also हम लोग it'll be great to hear आप लोग और क्या ड्रिंक
Right.
करते हो इंस्टेड ऑफ अ शरबत और ग्लूकॉन डी और कुछ और आप क्या पीते हो ऐसा टू फील गुड ड्यूरिंग समर्स और इफ यू आर डिहाइड्रेटेड तो ओआरएस या इलेक्ट्रोलाइट का सब्स्टिट्यूट क्या क्या हो सकता है आई थिंक वन वेरी
Hmm.
ऑब्वियस आंसर इज नारियल पानी आई थिंक बहुत लोगों को समर में
Totally.
नारियल पानी इज अ वेरी I
Yeah.
think a good substitute to having a lot of water. People have one nariyal pani. Um, so Neeraj, do you also like nariyal pani? Do you have nariyal pani?
Yes, I do like it when I go out for vacations. It's easily available on the beaches, so I take, but not on a regular basis. Like when I'm at home, I don't prefer because I've seen a spike in coconut water, so I generally tend to avoid. So yeah, but the key again here is to avoid dehydration. So I think drink a lot of fluids, whatever be it. Avoid sugary options. Uh, Buttermilk, as we spoke, these can be avoided, and stay away from the heat. Now the heat wave has subsided across India, but yeah, you need to avoid heat strokes, and because that will give you a lot of headache, and you know then you need to take some medicines and take some corrective action for that, and your sugars might tend to be a bit more high if you're not taking a lot of fluids. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like to have ऐसा half a नारियल पानी quite
Yeah.
a few times, मतलब maybe twice a week or so. So that I do. Usha says Mosambi juice she prefers. I am a fan of fruits more than juices, and I
Yeah, yeah.
recommend सब लोगों को कि raw fruits हमेशा better than juices. But
Yeah.
yes, as a cooler, I think sugar without sugar, if you want to have थोड़े से juice, nothing like it. Some people also prefer to have smoothie, etc. Without
Same.
adding
Yeah, yeah.
sugar,
Yeah, I do.
adding stevia and then making smoothies. Some artificial, I mean, some this thing. Um, oh, there's another
I think
interesting.
juices should be avoided because they just take the fiber out of it, and it will give you a good spike. Uh, I don't think it's worth it. If you want to have fruits, I think it's better off to have directly fruits rather than going for juices.
I agree 100% with you on that. I just think that sometimes वो ठंडा इसके लिए लोग
Uh-huh.
prefer to have a juice rather than
Yeah,
having the fruit itself.
yeah.
Uh, okay, there are suggestions in the chat box where
Yeah.
people have used thermo flask while traveling.
With ice
Spicy
cubes.
ampana.
That's interesting.
I want to really try this.
Which has no sugar and little boiled raw mango with spices. Yeah, yeah. If it's raw mango, I don't think it should give you that kind of spike which mango would do. But yeah, that's a good alternative.
Yep. आई थिंक दिस टेल्स अस कि समर काफी लोगों के लिए डिफिकल्ट रहा है, तो लोगों ने बहुत
हाँ
इनोवेट भी किया है, लाइक
हाँ हाँ
क्या कर सकते हैं क्या नहीं, एटसेट्रा.
राइट
um, I think Neeraj, when you introduced also, you mentioned something on your pump going bad during summers.
yeah.
uh,
So there was one day I was just before going to office, I just put out a new patch, and it stuck properly, and I didn't. The pump started, but when I just checked after lunch, the sugars reached 500 and 600. Uh, so then I had to change. I tried taking a correction shot with the pump. Sugar still didn't come down. Then I had to go out, buy a pen, and then I took a correction shot with that. And luckily, it took me good 6 7 hours to come back in range. So yeah, so even if you're on the pump, checking your sugars on the glucometer is 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 needed. Yeah. So on CGMs, on like just keep a track of your sugars more often than you would, because you tend to sweat a lot more. Even if you don't sweat, generally you sweat more than what you would do in other seasons. So it's always a good option to keep a, at least I do 3 times a day. Like I would check my sugars 3 times a day.
Very
How about you,
interesting.
Preeti? How do you
So
manage?
I am not on pump, and like I said, I make sure कि कभी मैंने वो हॉस्टल वाले इंसिडेंट के बाद, मतलब I
Right,
never go out with one bottle of insulin, कभी नहीं. Like I will always have one spare bottle of both Lantus and Actrapid, and I have 3 4 syringes with me.
right,
So extra insulin is the key for me for sure. Even when I go to hotels, I will ask for a mini bar in the room so that I can keep store my insulin.
right, right.
Thoda
Yeah,
I have become extra cautious.
yeah.
But I think pump में there are multiple things, like the patch can go bad, insulin भी खराब हो सकता है. So I
Hmm.
think, like you mentioned, the secret is check your sugars more often.
Right.
That is I think the key for me.
True. Yeah. So check your sugars more often, have more fluids, and if you're traveling, keep a check on the, like, make smart choices with your food. So there's one example. So if I'm going out, we tend to have more of fried foods and easy, like simple carbs. So if you had to, like, there was one time I avoid fried foods. So there was a paneer starter I had to choose. So rather than a fried item, it's better to take the tandoor and the grilled items more. uh, so that keeps a check on your you won't have spikes later on, because with high fatty foods, the spike will be, you won't see the spike 2 hours later, but definitely 4 to 5 hours later. And so there is a good chance that you can go in a hypoglycemia within 2 hours because you have taken the insulin, and the food hasn't risen your blood sugar that much, and it will give you a later, because you'll take corrective action and the food will also start working later on.
Such an interesting observation, no? It is all about the GI. I think कि
Mm.
वो फूड कब स्पाइक करता है. The
करता
other day
है.
also हमने ग्रुप पे देखा किसी ने डार्क चॉकलेट खाया and 2 hours later the sugar was absolutely fine, but 5 6 hours later the sugar went to as high as 300 350. uh,
Right.
which is I think the case with a lot of our foods, like we discussed. Nariyal pani spikes for some people, for some people it doesn't, but is it really not spiking or spiking versus when it spikes?
Right. Yeah.
इसके लिए team, we have this whole initiative called Sugar Detective, which has been
Right.
ongoing across the community.
Right.
All of us should go back, check all of the packets of food that we eat. It could be biscuits, it could be ketchups, it could be
Right.
chips, anything that you eat. Just read the sugar content on it. Two things we
Yeah.
are all going to check. One is how much is the sugar content of the food per 100 grams, and how
Yeah.
much is the carb content of the food. I was surprised क्योंकि group पे
Yeah.
जब मैंने देखा कि tomato ketchup is so bad and these Parle-G
Yeah.
biscuits are bad, so many things, soy sauce, mayonnaise, and these whole ready to cook soups and sabzi, everything has so much sugar. तो आई
Right.
थिंक हम सबने वापस जाके देखना चाहिए एक बार, with whatever food we are having, how much sugar does it really have, and then make a decision as to how much to have.
Exactly. Yes. That's true. Yeah. Whenever you're buying something new, for example, we just spoke like safer options and not going for items like rasna. So just check on the back. If it's a packaged food item, you can easily check what's the carbohydrate content and the sugar content on the back, and it will be very clear to you whether you should have it or not. It's completely your choice what food choices you make, but take an informed choice.
Yeah. थोड़े से comments में I can see a few
Yeah,
questions etc.
yeah.
Bale juice. I have only tried bale with that achar and murabba kind of a thing, and that spikes for me a lot. But I would recommend Sukhvinder. It is easy. It is, I think, easier to experiment. Maybe have a little bit of it and see how much your sugar spikes after say half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, and then let all of us also know. Because अगर वो नहीं spike करता है तो all of us can try, because this is something which is also available in the market. Maybe we all can see. Neeraj, if you know about bale juice, you can also tell us.
I've not tried it, but just search on Google for the, or even on the Blue Circle app, you can check for food items and their carb content. If it's giving you, like, you've seen any benefits with it, just give appropriate correction. Those like take keep your ICR and take your insulin accordingly. So if it's giving you benefits, definitely give it a try. But don't forget to take your insulin with it.
Awesome.
There's
Okay,
yeah,
I
there's a
yeah, sorry,
question
Neeraj,
from
please.
Rekha. Yeah, there's a question from Rekha. When we check if every time sugar is about 200, I should take insulin or wait for some time to let sugar come down on its own. So Rekha, if your basal is correctly set, the sugars it will keep your sugar stable if there is no bolus working on it. So if if it's if you've had proper food, even after your after 2 to 3 hours, if the sugar is still high, I would advise you to take a correction shot, but ensure that there is no active bolus that's working currently on the body, and then only take a correction shot according to whatever chart you have, whatever your ICR or your ISF is. But don't take before 2 hours because the bolus is working there. So yeah, and uh, and that brings me to a good point of basal testing. So whenever there is a change, it's important to do a basal testing. We I think Blue Circle has that good blog on it also about basal testing. So whenever there is a weather change or even in a few months, basal testing is important. I did not do it this time, but what happened to me during this summer was from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I was always going low. uh, my sugars were going low. I tried to change my bolus, take it before food, take it after food, tried perfecting the carb ratio, but nothing was working. I was still going into a low, into a hypo, no matter what, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Then I got in touch with my doctor. We did a basal testing, and then I had to reduce my basal ratio 2 hours before from whatever my basal was going from 2 to 4, and then I did not go. The sugar stayed stable from the time I was seeing an hypo. So yeah, so basal testing is very important. We tend to focus more on bolus, but yeah, basal is an equally important role. So do a basal testing whenever there is a weather change. Whenever you say you were not working out and you suddenly started working out. So basal testing is very important and you should do it.
Very interesting. No, who would have thought weather के वजह से भी insulin
हाँ,
का requirement change होगा. You will have to manage your doses, etc. I
right.
think one very common thing, Neeraj, which happens मेरे साथ तो होता है हर summer, that one day I will have a heat stroke kind of a situation. मैं
Yeah,
बाहर
yeah.
चली गई and लू लग गई, sort of a thing.
हाँ,
I don't
हाँ,
feel
हाँ.
hungry anymore. I just need
Right,
more and more water. So
right.
how to manage a sick day during summer, because skin infections हो जाते हैं बहुत सारे.
Yeah,
That
right.
that again impacts your blood sugar. Do you have any pro tips on what to do in case of a sick day outside of sugar? Any other sickness that happens in summer?
Uh, have more water, have more of fluids. If you're sick, your sugars will be a little higher no matter what you do. So give it a day or two. Once you take care of the reason why your sugars are going high and the sickness goes away, sugars will automatically come into range. Avoid high carb food items. Take safer options on those days. I avoid grains whenever I'm sick, so it helps in the healing process for me. I've seen that. So I just tend to focus more on vegetables and the fiber content. So yeah, so that is one thing I tend to whenever I'm sick, because your sugars will become more sensitive because you're running an infection. So I tend to and take appropriate action. Go show to the doctor if need be. Get on medications and yeah, get back to normal. But yeah, food items, avoid high carb food items is what I would suggest.
वेरी
What
इंटरेस्टिंग.
would you
ये
do?
मैंने कभी ट्राई नहीं किया है, बट
Yeah, I get over grains. Like that's the first thing I just go over it.
बट इन माई केस स्पेसिफिकली, एंड आई एम श्योर ऑडियंस में भी ये सबके साथ होता होगा, आई वुड वांट टू हियर फ्रॉम द ऑडियंस कि एनी काइंड ऑफ सिकनेस, कोई वायरल इन्फेक्शन हो, कोई डेंटल कुछ इशू हुआ है मुझे, इट इमीडिएटली इम्पैक्ट्स माई इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी. लाइक तुरंत
Correct.
इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस आ जाता है, शुगर्स विल गो टू लाइक 300 350, इंसुलिन के बाद
Correct.
भी कम नहीं होगा. So already
Mhm.
during a heat stroke मैं खा नहीं पा रही हूँ, and yet my sugar is high, it becomes difficult. So I think
Right.
this is a very good tip कि maybe I have some buttermilk, bring my sugars
Right.
down first, and then have
Yeah.
low carb foods.
Right.
I see people telling how buttermilk is good for them, raw tomatoes, cherry tomatoes are good for them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am a very big veggie person, तो आप कोई भी सब्जी, I think I will be in for it. Some sabzis do spike for me, but I take
Yeah.
the appropriate amount of insulin and then have it. But I think especially during summers, low carb is the, I think, secret
Is the
thing.
way to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, when your sugars are running over 240, 250, always check for ketones and yeah. And whenever you're traveling, have those ketone strips with you.
Yeah, very
So
interesting
that is one.
observation, no?
Because,
Because already there's a heat
yeah.
stroke up, your sugars are high, you don't want to eat, and there's a very high possibility of ketones. I think
Yeah.
that is another
Right.
interesting observation, which also reminds me, team,
Yeah.
insulin, sugar, glucometer, and ketone strips is something which is a must have during travel. प्लीज
Yeah.
आप जब भी एक लॉन्ग ट्रैवल प्लान कर रहे हो, मे बी 3 दिन 4 दिन एक हफ्ता, प्लीज एंड अ डायबिटीज आइडेंटिटी कार्ड, please remember this
Yeah.
checklist, please play this with your kids, ask them these quiz questions if they've taken the right amount of insulin together with them, including a 50% buffer like Neeraj said. Have we taken
Yeah.
enough glucometer strips? Have we taken the needles also for checking the sugars? Have we taken ketone strips? Because travel really gets tough if you don't have the right kind of resources with you. हो सकता है आप कहीं remote areas में travel कर रहे हो, extreme weather conditions
Yeah.
में travel कर रहे हो. Please make sure कि we keep all of this handy. साथ में you could make like a checkbox chart or something for this. Maybe that will help all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Does this also work with the skin infections, etc.? We spoke about, Neeraj. Yeah, do we need to do something differently to make sure that we keep fit and well during summers?
I think if you're running a skin infection, if you're seeing something different, then normally it's good to visit a doctor, get the appropriate treatment. In the meanwhile, also keep a good check on your sugars, how they're running, and tend to, like we spoke, try to avoid high carb foods. And because the more your sugars are going haywire, the more your recovery period will be. So it's always good to visit a skin doctor because you never know because of the heat, and if you have traveled to a high humid place, if you're running any skin infection, because we normally tend to be bare feet here and there, so there was also a chance of a foot infection. So yeah, it's always good to, if you see something different, and if you're seeing your sugars running high for no specific reason, it's always good to see a doctor immediately.
Yeah, yeah. There's this one experience that I have had with sweating. I am
Yeah.
myself a little allergic to sweat. Doctors have told me कि body पे sweat कभी भी रहना नहीं चाहिए. So either you wipe it off or you bathe. But what can happen with people is कुछ लोग socks पहनते हैं and socks के
हाँ,
अंदर there is a sweating a lot of times, so there will be a fungal infection between your toes जो easily
right.
आपको नहीं दिखेगा फॉर लाइक 4 days 5 days. अगर आप वही कर रहे हो आपको दिखेगा भी नहीं शायद, बट प्लीज
हाँ,
मेक श्योर दैट यू चेक योर फीट, द beneath of your foot and
yes,
between your toes. Similarly, कहीं पे भी आपको ऐसा लग रहा है कि spots है, there are you're developing some pigmentation, please get it checked because summers can be really bad for some body types.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's better अगर हम ये चेक करते रहे. And please tell your doctor that before you start any medication, that you are a diabetic, any kind of diabetes, be it type 1, type 2, 3C. Please tell your doctor that some medicines may have an impact on your blood glucose, or the food intake
yeah,
is a little different for you. You prefer low carb, healthy, whatever kind of diet you follow.
yeah,
Please make
yeah.
sure कि आप अपने डॉक्टर्स को ये बताओ before you get any kind of treatment during summers or any other season. Just generally I would recommend.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, s- so yeah. Uh, so Usha was asking ketones high ke chance kitni sugar. Okay. So I think that got answered. Yeah. You generally check when your sugars go above 250. So yeah. When it goes above 250, it's always good to check ketones. No matter what time of the day it is. And if the ketone shows a very high amount, it's best to run to the hospital immediately.
Yeah. This is, I think, true for even blood sugars.
Yeah, yeah,
Anytime we see a blood sugar of more than 200, 250, please check your ketone levels.
right.
If you see ketones going to more than, the first जो coloration आप
First
देखो,
two,
if there
three.
are high
Yeah,
amount of ketones, please immediately go to a doctor instead of self treating. Some people
right.
with experience, सब लोग सीख रहे हैं, everybody is a doctor now. I think every person with diabetes is a doctor. But
Yeah,
it's better to consult. I
consult
think
your
all
doctor.
of us would
Exactly.
always recommend that.
Yeah. So Usha also has a question. Ketones बढ़ने से weight loss होता है क्या?
uh, I think the answer to that, according to me, is yes. Most people, जब diagnosis होता है, this is one of the biggest reasons why people lose weight. It is one of the biggest
Right.
symptoms of diabetes, that
Yeah.
people lose weight because your
Hmm.
body is not able to आप जो भी consume करते हो उसका sugar बनता है. Sugar से energy बनाने का काम जो insulin कर रहा है, that is not happening, but the body needs energy, and that is why it will
Right.
burn the fat, the charbi that we call in your body, and ketones आएंगे, and that will essentially make you thinner. So one of the
Right.
biggest, I think, everyone can share their diagnosis story, but for me also the diagnosis story was that I had lost 3 to 4 kgs of weight, I think, without any,
Yeah.
despite my intake becoming twice, because I was a diabetic,
Yeah.
but just the diagnosis had not happened. मेरा appetite double हो गया था, but weight
Same. Same.
कम होता
Yeah.
जा रहा था because there were high ketones. But Usha, I think we should all also read about ketones a little bit more, तो हम सबके पास थोड़ा better information and
Yes.
knowledge होगा about this.
So, and also on the ketone strips, once you have opened the bottle, it expires in 6 months. So, do not use an expired ketone strip. Once that 6 months have passed, and if it's good that you're not making much use of it, that means the sugars are in control. Replace that bottle, because that expire once you open it, it expires in 6 months. So no matter if there are lot number of strips left in it, just replace that bottle, because when you need it, it might not show you the correct result.
या उसके लिए I think one ketone bottle has 50 strips, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
think.
like with a good control of diabetes, धीरे धीरे उसकी जरूरत कम होने लगती है. So a lot of time it
Yeah,
gets wasted. So Nagpur,
right.
when I was around in Nagpur, I had a lot of friends with T1D type 1 diabetes. ये बहुत friends थे मेरे. So we used to share. We would buy the bottle and we would share strips sometimes. We would store it well, I think. But that was one jugaad that we did back then. So whatever helps. I mean, but yeah, you're right. Sometimes reading पूरी तरह गलत आ सकता है, and the diagnosis and treatment may go wrong. If we are using something which is expired, opened and kept, exposed to sunlight, etc. So I
Yes,
think becomes all the more important during summers.
right. Absolutely. So I think if we don't have more questions, have you missed out on anything? कीटोन बढ़ता है जो आई थिंक सो रेखा हैज अ क्वेश्चन कीटोन बढ़ता है जब शुगर 250 है but later it clears once sugar comes down then what the doctor has to be consulted. I think once it clears out and when you see for continuous that's what I have been doing for 24 hours तक अगर आप देख रहे हो कि कीटोन्स सिर्फ पे देखते जा रहे हो भले शुगर कंट्रोल में आ गई है और 24 आवर्स तक अगर आपके कीटोन्स नहीं दिख रहे लाइक जीरो हो गए सो आई थिंक you are clear but it's also good to keep a record of what time you checked व्हाट टाइम आपका शुगर रीडिंग कितना था वो टाइम पे आपने आपका कीटोन्स कितना था एक लॉग बना के रखेंगे और अपने डॉक्टर के साथ शेयर करेंगे सो आपको क्लियर पिक्चर दे पाएंगे कि जो इन्फेक्शन था वो क्लियर हो गया है एंड यू डोंट नीड टू चेक कीटोन्स फर्दर बट येस कीटोन्स मतलब 250 के ऊपर जब भी जाए तो आपको डेफिनेटली चेक करना चाहिए and you need to keep taking a correction shot probably every 2 to 3 hours for it.
Okay. Audience, any other questions, any other experiences किसी और को share करना है about summer, any pro tips? Please comment in the chat box. And while they comment, नीरज, would you like to do a quick conclusion of हमने क्या क्या discuss किया? Because मेरे लिए despite facilitating the session आज मुझे बहुत कुछ सीखने मिला है from the audience and from you of course.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, it was a great learning experience, as Ketki said. So just revising on a few things. Test more often. Keep backup of your medicines, specifically when you're traveling and even when at home. Keep your unused cartridges, vials, injections in the fridge. The ones that you're using can be kept in open in at room temperature, and drink a lot of fluids. You can have like 0 calorie options. There is Enazal Zero. There are a lot of options available in the market, but do read the back packaging. What they mention on the front may not be true what is on the back. uh, do a basal testing when the weather changes or when you there's an abnormal change in your routine. And yeah, just test more often, and keep a check on your sugars, and have a great vacation because it's that month of the year.
yeah. Nupur is asking about our favorite summer drinks. Nupur, mine is a cheat drink, I would say. Like I mentioned, Soul Kadhi, I really like it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
same here.
coconut milk and some kokum. So I sometimes manage it with a dose, but otherwise it doesn't spike so much for me. I don't
Yeah,
add
same.
sugar to it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
nimbu pani without sugar for sure. After you come out from say heat, etc.
yeah,
Yeah, I love the
yeah.
color. And
Soul
I add
Cody.
dhania and everything to it. So kind of like a
Yeah,
nice drink.
yeah.
So
Same here. I
yeah.
think smoothies are my go-to thing. I take it even if it's like probably 365 days a year. I take smoothies. Uh, so that's like my breakfast. And yeah, buttermilk is something that I take. During this weather, it keeps you hydrated well, and you just require a minimal correction dose. And if you're taking it with a meal, it probably covers for me.
I think Rohan, did you become a sugar detective because he writes as to how he
Yeah.
stopped drinking Diet Coke? I think he saw some contents on it or what. Okay, what type of smoothie? Neeraj, question for
Yeah.
you.
Okay, so no, so even during the like 365 days that I mentioned, I take seasonal fruits. Uh, I like my bananas. That is one thing I cannot let go of. Uh, and so how I take coconut milk. I put take banana, grind it well, and with that I put some seeds because that will give you a lot of fiber. And for the protein, I take peanut butter. So that is my breakfast. That's what I take. And once you have come to an approximate dose, a good dose, it doesn't spike me currently. So yeah, that's my go-to. So the fruit keeps changing. This season, sometimes I've taken a mango, a banana, or normally on that. But when you're taking these, I match it with a good protein. That's peanut butter or almond butter also will do. And I put a lot of seeds and sabja seeds and chia seeds like so yeah, so that is what I do for smoothies.
Yeah, I just have two things. One is I saw this fruit last year and I tried it, which is called ice apple, tad gore that we call.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
just very similar to a coconut malai and it has water
Huh.
inside it. It worked
Right.
wonderfully for me for an evening snack. It did not spike my
Oh,
sugar as much. But of course, for some people, they may need, say, 1 or 2 units of insulin for this, but again
right.
works like a wonder in summers. It makes you feel so full, and it is also a hydrating fruit. Pears are very hydrating. Sometimes
Yeah,
you
yeah,
may
yeah.
need some bit of bolus for that. I see a question about mangoes. I think this is one thing we completely missed out on, Neeraj. If we can or
Yeah,
cannot have mangoes, but I am guilty, but I have had mangoes this season.
yeah, yeah.
But
Definitely, I
folks,
have.
please remember, take your insulin right. Wait for the right
Yeah,
amount of time to match the mango spike with your insulin spike. Um,
right.
if say you are taking a Novo Rapid, please do wait for 10, 15, 20 odd minutes if needed, because mangoes will
Yeah,
spike your sugar. If you're taking an
instantly.
Actrapid, wait for 30, 35 odd minutes, 40 minutes. It depends on when your insulin spikes. And
Yeah,
uh, please don't miss out on mango. I would not say completely
yeah,
abandon it, but yes, please be cautious. Do check your sugars, do test it out. Maybe have one slice or two slices and then see. But I would not recommend having a whole Amras Puri party. But please let's just be
yeah.
cautious. What we have.
I think everything is good
Um,
in moderation. So yeah,
yeah.
and if you're testing pre and post for 2 to 3 days, whenever you're introducing something new, I think that should help. And I take
Yeah, I
normally
think
if I'm taking
substitution is
fruits.
another way.
Yeah,
If you're having two
yeah,
slices of mango, please substitute the chapati or the rice with some other protein. Maybe
right.
that will also help. So
Yeah,
all of these trial and testing methods, you can all check out all of these things on the group on the BCDF app. And Neeraj, I would really recommend smoothie recipes. I will wait to read on the app as well. Please do add
right.
them. I think it's going to be helpful for all of us. And folks in the chat, आप
Absolutely.
लोग भी प्लीज अपनी सारी रेसिपी समर ड्रिंक्स डालिए ग्रुप
Yeah,
पे, ताकि हम लोग दिस ईयर नेक्स्ट ईयर सब लोग ट्राई कर सके, एंड वी विल ऑल आल्सो एंजॉय आवर समर्स इंडोर्स.
yeah. So I think we just missed out on a few latest comments. Fresh lime soda. Yeah, fresh lime soda. Again, please check the soda content. There are some sodas with, I don't know. I've never taken fresh lime soda, but I take it fresh lime water is what I go for. So yeah, I tried with apple, walnut, cinnamon. Yeah, yeah. You just need to put a lot of fibrous foods and match it with a good protein. Yeah, so protein for vegetarians, as Rohan said, paneer, dal, peanut protein, soya bean. Perfect. Yeah, that these are what even I'm a vegetarian, so yeah, that's my go-to for protein things as well.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think we are done. If there's anything, Ketki, you would like to add, or we are good.
Not related to summer drinks, but I would like to remind everybody who had opted in for the BCDF pack of goodies. I My calendar is not near me today, but the month is going to change 3 din May. So please remember to change the calendar, flip day, and we can all post our videos doing it on the group. And thank you so much for joining. Been such an interactive session. No, आज सब लोग
Yeah,
everybody had something to share.
yeah,
सब लोगों के
right,
summer drinks, experiences, travel experiences. Please do tell us about
right.
it. Join more sessions, join more meetups happening in your cities. I think most शहरों में या शहरों के आसपास we
Hmm.
are doing one meetup every month.
Right.
Please do join it, and thank you so much, everybody. And thank you,
Yes.
Neeraj.
Thank you,
You've been a
Kirti. It was
wonderful
great
host.
hosting with you. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.